Chapter 26. Serafina sat on the chair, absent-mindedly looking at the empty party grounds outside the window. The bright lights on the grass added to the silence of the dark night. The noisy scene not long ago was now empty, with tables, chairs, and dishes in disarray, completely empty. She suddenly recalled that time. The photo on the LED screen was very blurry, but everyone had the ability to imagine. Everyone was very surprised. Only Harrison, his eyes were still soft like that. He took a step forward, as if he wanted to pull her hand, intending to tell her something, but someone ran over, holding a phone that was ringing continuously. Your grandfather's phone. He ignored it, still wanting to get close to her. The other person urged even more urgently, your grandfather's phone, urgent matter. He looked at the flashing mobile phone, then looked at her who was alone in a daze, and said, Serafina, wait for me a moment. But what is she waiting for? From the living room next door came Theodore's scream, Vivian, do you want to die? Vivian had been sobbing for half an hour. It's not me, it's really not me. I don't know who changed the photos on my USB. I originally intended to give Serafina a surprise. It's really not me. Serafina's face darkened. Close the door. Lucas stood up and closed the door. The world finally quieted down. She glanced at the photos on the computer, digging her nails into the back of the chair, her face pale. She knew who did it at a glance. The one who tricked her into going to Shanghai was Lily, but this time, perhaps William also had a part in it. She stared at the screen, her voice indifferent. The person in this photo is not me. Lucas was momentarily stunned, then suddenly understood. To tell the truth, even though he didn't know the situation beforehand, even though this photo appeared in the middle of the birthday party to attract everyone's attention, he didn't think that the person in the photo was her. Because the exhibition prohibited electronic devices, the resolution of the photo was very low. If it wasn't shown right at the party, absolutely no one would think that it was Serafina. However, the opponent knew how to take advantage of everyone's imagination and curiosity. If she didn't clear up the misunderstanding in time, her reputation in this circle would be completely ruined. People in high society were very harsh, often criticizing others' mistakes, and even more so, not easily forgetting others' scandals. This blurry figure is not me. At this time in the photo, I have already returned to Beijing, she said firmly. Faced with this situation, the only thing she could do was deny it. She could not admit her mistake and then apologize and sympathize. Others would only seize on her confession and from now on mock her for the rest of her life. If sympathy was so easy, where did human cruelty come from? Lucas nodded. I understand, we will not handle this photo. If anyone points out that the person is Miss Beaumont, we will send a letter to the lawyer. That's my opinion too. I feel very secure about your work. After Lucas left, she silently thought. She had returned to Beijing very early that day. If there were any unfamiliar witnesses, it would have been great. While she was lost in thought, her phone rang. It was a text message from Emma. The time at the bottom of the photo was 8 p.m. on April 1st. At that time, you and I were reading the edited version of Secret Space. She was stunned, her heart was both warm and sad, and she texted back a thank you. The Astor family was a prestigious family. Emma's reputation in the industry was also very good. If she could testify, and there was also that fake photo, everything would be resolved. The most difficult thing to explain now was Lily. She had already joined hands with William. Their target was not only her, but also the Beaumont family. This time, there was a blessing in disguise. She had seen that Theodore wanted to protect her. Now there was only Grandma. What she valued most was the honor of the family. She would definitely be extremely angry. Serafina entered her grandmother's room. When she closed the door, she saw Theodore. His face was worried. She turned around. Her grandmother's face was covered with dark clouds. Her sharp eyes swept past her. She endured for a long time, but the more she endured, the paler her face became. Her lips trembled. It was a waste of time for me to look at you with different eyes. I didn't expect you to be no different from Theodore. Still a spoiled brat. She was shocked, although she was mentally prepared, knowing that her grandmother was just angry and scolded her. She still felt pain. Her face stiffened. She lowered her head and said, Grandma, I've thought of a way. There won't be any big trouble, Lucas, and I will take care of it. What I care about now is reputation. She interrupted her, coldly saying, "It's you. Do you dare to say in front of me, the person in the photo isn't you?" She had no expression on her face and remained silent. "You have disappointed me so much." Serafina had lost face today, and no matter how angry Grandma was, she couldn't help but feel angry. Her hands were trembling as she pointed at her, and in the end, she just sighed tiredly. She had never let the Beaumont family's honor be stained. Who would have thought that her granddaughter would smear their face like this? How could she not be angry? Serafina also knew that Grandma valued her face very much, so she tried to listen to all of Grandma's angry words while calming her down, and calmly said, "Grandma, the most important thing right now is to minimize the negative impact. Now someone has proven that the person in that photo is not me. Furthermore, I think Lily did this." "What are you saying in front of Grandma?" Olivia had been eavesdropping outside. Seeing her splash dirty water on Lily, she couldn't help but rush over. "You've already done something so shameful and you still dare to push the responsibility onto someone else? Where did you learn this habit? I think an uneducated person like you doesn't deserve to be in this house." The education problem that had been haunting her for 10 years in her previous life had returned. She didn't deserve to be in this house? Enough. She'd endured enough. Everyone said she was uneducated, she was someone who shouldn't exist in this world. But, in this world, the person who had no right to say these words the most was her own mother. She raised her eyes, quietly looked at her mother. After a moment of dull silence, she smiled. "From childhood to adulthood, the education I received was of a low class. What do you expect from me being a good daughter?" "Ah, Lily grew up with you. What good things did she have?" "I went to Shanghai because she lied to me." Grandma was stunned. Her mother immediately screamed, "You still dare to lie." She felt her nose sting, trembling and laughing. "Following Megan for 18 years, coming to the Beaumont family for 6 months, I have always been a child without a mother to teach me. I am inherently uneducated." Olivia was extremely angry. "Do you know what you are saying? Do you know that your messy image has ruined my family's reputation? Your family? Your people?" She gritted her teeth fiercely, suddenly screaming in pain. "Along with your house being destroyed, there was also me." The house was dead silent, only the ticking of the wall clock could be heard. "Mom, you compare me to Lily at every turn." "Mom, can I compare to her?" She thought her heart was numb, but at this moment it ached as if it was pierced by thousands of arrows. She hated herself for being strangely weak whenever she stood in front of her family. She didn't want it to be like this, but she couldn't hold back her tears anymore, and they just kept flowing. Her voice was hoarse and choked, just like her current desperate and sorrowful mood. "Since Lily was little, Mom said she was the princess of the Beaumont family, a treasure given to Mom by heaven. But do you know what Megan said to me? Picked up from the trash. A child picked up from the trash. How good do you think she is? You guys always compare me to Lily. Okay, today I'll compare myself to you guys." She lived like a princess in the Beaumont household, without worrying about food or clothing, lacking nothing. I lived with her biological mother, was scolded as a bastard, and was chased here and there by the official wife of the other family. In the winter, she had a tutor come to her door, sitting in front of the fireplace teaching her to play the piano. Megan slept with her guests until the bed shook, chasing me out of the house. It was 10 degrees below zero. I had to squat outside the grocery store to do my homework. My hands were so cold that they fell off, but she didn't buy me gloves. If my grades weren't good, I wouldn't get a scholarship and would have to drop out of school. She learned table manners, learned to dance, learned to communicate with mother. I followed Megan. When I was at my most desperate, I had to pretend to be a beggar to cheat money on the street, and when I was scolded or cursed, I had to lick my lips and smile, brazenly trying to get it. She could leisurely read and play at school or at home, while I had to do laundry, cook, do all kinds of chores, and be on guard against Megan's customers. I was kidnapped and sold to human traffickers by someone else's official wife. When I was 18, Megan even tried to sell me to someone else to be a prostitute. My dear mother, do you want me to give you an example to compare? Grandma collapsed onto the chair, closing her wrinkled eyes, tears rolling down her aged cheeks. Theodore sat outside the door in the darkness, suddenly feeling strangely irritated. He stared at nothingness, biting the back of his hand until it bled, but it was not even 1/10,000th as painful as the pain in his heart. As for Olivia, her facial expression was also numb. So, she couldn't make a sound, chokingly taking a few deep breaths but still unable to speak, going back to the events of so many years ago. It was like tearing open each wound. The pain was so excruciating that it made her heart ache. In her beautiful eyes, there was only clear glass falling onto the carpet, shattering into small flowers. Do you know how many wishes I had for you when I first came to this house? But, on the first day I came here, do you know how many mistakes you found in me? 29. Serafina, you have to put the teacup on the coaster. Serafina, don't hold the sugar cubes with your hands. Serafina, you have to put your clothes in the basket. Serafina, don't put the food like that. Mom, no one taught me, how am I supposed to learn? I'm in this house, I don't dare to do anything, I don't dare to say anything, so you say I'm weird and rude. But in the past 6 months, have you ever cared about me? Have you ever asked about my past life? Have you ever confided in me even for a few seconds? I know you like Lily. But I was born from you. Why don't you try to accept me? Why do you push all the responsibility onto me, saying I'm not good at this or that, always comparing me to Lily? How do you expect me to like her? You only know how to criticize and isolate me, and have never helped me once. How do you expect me to be better? For someone who has no one to teach, no one to guide, day after day only knows how to criticize her for being uneducated, do you know how cruel that is? She cried until she was trembling, even breathing was choking. Mom, I used to love you so much. But you don't like me at all, right? Actually, it's my fault too. I should have learned Lily's cleverness, coaxed you to be happy so you would accept me. But I'm so stubborn, this is my fault. There are always unforgivable mistakes in this world. So, Mom, don't forgive me. She cried, laughing through her tears, because I won't forgive you either. Theodore outside the door lowered his head, tears falling like rain.